I'm Chief Meteorologist Tony Petrarch on the Pinpoint 12 Forecast Center. You've clicked on the Weather Now link. A beautiful day in progress, sunshine, warm and dry. Weather looks good for this evening, though late at night after midnight, some low clouds and fog will be rolling in. We're going to start with Hurricane Dorian. Take a look at the latest satellite photo as it spins off the coast of Florida, finally moving away from the Grand Bahama Island. It has weakened. Still a strong hurricane, but not nearly as strong as it was just a few days ago when at one point it had winds of 185 miles per hour. The wind speed's now down to anywhere between 110 and 120. So we'll get a closer look at Dorian in just a second. In the meantime, we are looking at some fog tonight, but probably after midnight and towards daybreak. Tracking a cold front for Wednesday. It'll be warm and humid. The chance for some scattered showers and thunderstorms, and some could be strong. However, it doesn't really occur until very late afternoon and early evening. So most of the daylight hours of Wednesday is actually rain-free. And, of course, we're keeping an eye on Dorian. As we look at conditions across New England, it's fairly quiet. We'll be watching a cold front approaching off to our west. It'll arriving here tomorrow afternoon and into tomorrow evening. In the meantime, you can clearly see what is Dorian now pulling away from the Bahamas and starting that motion finally to the north and northwest. Now, not expected to actually make landfall on the Florida Peninsula. Good news there, but it is close enough to at least graze Florida with a storm surge, strong wind, heavy rain. So the hurricane warning actually still remains in effect for the Florida East Coast, even though the eye of the storm is staying just offshore. Impressive radar imagery. The storm is within Doppler radar range, and those bands of heavy rain just offshore will be pinwheeling towards the coastline, the surge and the wind increasing north of Miami and towards Jacksonville, Florida. So Florida, while you certainly dodged the bullet as far as a major Cat 5 hurricane, really not out of the woods as far as high impact, very stormy weather. You can see some of the wind speeds that have been on the increase on the East Coast. Now we're taping this as of about 4:15 in the afternoon. The areas in red, that's your hurricane warning. Purple represents hurricane watch. The warning is now extended all the way to South Carolina. The storm may actually make a landfall somewhere near South Carolina by the middle of next week. Forecast track from the National Hurricane Center has the storm very close to both South and North Carolina, and then passing well out to sea south and east of New England by Friday night and into Saturday morning. If anything, the latest forecast track has it moving a little further offshore, which is obviously better news for us. One of our computer models, one of our global models that we use, it's called the GFS model, and it shows the heaviest rain staying just offshore Friday night, Saturday morning, but still the coastline getting grazed with some rain and a little bit of wind. And we'll talk more about the wind in just a second, but Friday, Saturday morning, the rain shield may be just close enough to give us some wet weather during that time period, but the worst of the storm should remain offshore. Take a look at, all right, that's the European model. I didn't know we had that one in here. Okay, this is another computer global model, European, and this one has the storm well south and east of New England as well by Saturday morning, close enough for some rain, and some wind along the south shore. When we look at the probability of tropical storm force winds, meaning winds of 40 or greater, and put a percent probability here, obviously the areas in red is the highest percentage. The chance for Providence of winds that strong is only 10%, and it ramps up to about 33% for Nantucket only. And even these numbers have been coming down. So bottom line, I think any gusty wind would be reserved for the immediate south coast, and especially the lower Cape and Islands. But as far as hurricane force winds, it's certainly not expecting that, at least at this point. So good news there. No surprise as this storm draws off the shoreline. The waves and the swells will be on the increase, big waves offshore. And that wave energy will start to propagate towards our coastline come Friday and Saturday. The net result, late week and into the early part of the weekend, increasing surf and rip currents and then big swells offshore. Meantime, closer to home this evening, we're looking good. Generally quiet under clear to partly cloudy skies by 11 o'clock, 66. Tomorrow morning, we start with low clouds and fog. I don't see any showers or storms. It will thin out to at least partly sunny skies. So what will happen the second half of the day will become partly sunny, warm and humid, temps in the low 80s. I'm thinking after either 5 or 6 o'clock in the evening and closer towards sunset, the better chance of a scattered shower or thunderstorm. And the concern here is that some thunderstorms may be locally strong. So it's something we're going to have to watch by the the early evening hours as far as the potential for some strong thunderstorms tomorrow evening. So, in a nutshell, quiet tonight, some fog after midnight. Most of the daylight hours of your Wednesday is rain and storm free, but by early evening, come 6, 7, 8 o'clock in the evening, some scattered thunderstorms, and again, some may be strong. Dorian, obviously a concern for Florida through the Carolinas next several days. For us, as it passes offshore Friday night, Saturday morning, naturally the surf, the waves, and the rip currents will increase. The coastline may get grazed with some rain and wind, especially the lower Cape and Islands. But as far as hurricane force winds or a direct landfall from this storm at this point, it's not expected. But again, stay tuned to updates. And certainly, fishermen, people out in boats and things like that going offshore would not venture out offshore, obviously, with the storm being south and east of Cape Cod by Friday night into Saturday morning. So that's your latest Weather Now update. Thanks for logging in. We'll talk to you soon.